All right, welcome to episode 5 of Corner Memoirs of the Service Industry. First, a big thank you to everybody who has been subscribing to the YouTube channel and following along on iTunes and Spotify. It means the world to me that this is starting to catch on with a lot of you, and it's been growing week after week. And I want to say thank you to all of you who have been listening. That being said, we have a bit of a long one this week. I have a great guest, my friend and executive chef, Gabriel Geiger. He, before the pandemic, was at All Day Baby in Silver Lake. We talk about a few things this week. Mainly, we talk about restaurants pivoting as a marketplace. I still truly believe if restaurants are going to succeed in the coming months and the next year, that we have to change the way we think of a restaurant. We have to switch the notion of just a dine-in experience and think of a to-go experience, and more of how we are as a brand and how we can brand ourselves with making things in-house and selling those products to customers. I think that is a tremendous way for us to win. We also talk about the future of fine dining. I think that goes hand in hand, but I think one of the big losses we're going to see in the immediate future, in my opinion, is fine dining restaurants, especially those smaller chef-driven ones. And we kind of talk about that experience. And lastly, one of the things we bring up at the end of the episode is the importance of reaching out and getting therapy. This industry that we work in is extremely stressful. I know for myself, I have battled with depression, and it definitely is heightened with some of the jobs I've had within the industry. And I think it's an important thing to talk about. And we talk about it briefly at the end, and I'm planning to do a little bit more in-depth episode on in the future, but it's definitely worth sticking around to the very end of it. Gabe is a great guy. He's running a pop-up. He's doing a pop-up ramen place. So yeah, I think it's a great one. And again, thank you all for listening. And without me babbling any longer, let's just get into service, shall we? You're listening to Corner Memoirs of the Service Industry, a podcast set out to document the lives of those who work in service and hospitality. I'm Eric Chopo, and I'll be running the front of the house tonight. I'm a 22-year vet in the bar and restaurant scene and have worked and managed everything from Michelin star restaurants to dive bars and everything in between. I'm sitting down with members of our industry to talk about why they love doing what they do and share some stories along the way. Around every corner is a new story, a new hire, and a new experience. Hi, Gabe. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just relaxing, getting ready for another pop-up this weekend.
Awesome. So for those who may not know you, Gabe, you are a chef here in Los Angeles. Why don't you tell the fine folks at home where are some of the places you've been working at?
So in LA so far, spent some time at Faith and Flower, spent some time at Here's Looking at You and All Day Baby.
Mm-hmm. And Here's Looking at You just said they were closing. I meant to text you about that. I don't know.
I don't know 100% what they're doing, but
well, Eater LA said they were done, which kind of sucks. But yeah,
those frog legs, man, miss those.
Yeah. So you've been a chef for how many years, or just cooking for how many years?
Cooking since I was about 14, 15. So I don't know, like 18 years now.
Oh, I mean, so you sure have been around, I guess. That's
been at it. Palm Springs, San Francisco, Los Angeles, a little bit of time in Long Beach.
And so you mentioned Faith and Flower. I guess guests of the show would, or listeners of the show are probably familiar with that because I've mentioned it a couple times. But we didn't work there together, actually, for the record. You were before my time. But we definitely share some of the same, there's some still DNA. We were both in that place, and we kind of have the same similar outlook on life after going through Faith.
An experience.
So you were at All Day Baby.
Mm-hmm.
What type of place was that for people who aren't familiar?
Very, very LA. Kind of classic American, but very like LA diner vibes. So, you got a huevos rancheros. You got a chicken fried steak, nice burger. But we have that great big smoker, and so we're just smoking pretty much anything and everything.
I mean, yeah, you get to experiment, have fun. I think I had a smoked bok choy at a buddy's house.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, it's life changing. Definitely life changing.
We were doing a smoked Vadavon yeasted cauliflower.
Nice.
So it was that, some sarsaparilla barbecue sauce, some like crunchy garlic on there.
All right.
It was pretty good.
I mean, damn, that's I just had a salad for lunch. That sounds way better than I just had.
It's technically vegan, so
there you go. I mean, I think cauliflower is the not the unsung hero, because cauliflower is definitely having their time in the sun at the moment. But as far as a prepared dish, it's just the star of the show. Cauliflower wins all day long. Like, I don't need meat if the cauliflower is cooked correctly at all. I think Faith did a cauliflower steak, and it was awesome. It's like a curried.
I love a good cauliflower steak. I mean, it's just Braskas are always a winner.
Yeah. Also fun. It always, once a night, you end up having a conversation with the guest saying, "Where's the steak?" I mean, it's a giant slab of cauliflower, sir, on your plate, and it looks like it. Okay, never mind. I'll go get you a steak. Yeah, that was on a nightly basis. That would always happen. Somebody ordered it wrong. So what have you been doing, man? Like, for those who are just listening and aren't aware, LA's still shut down. Restaurants are
still closed down.
Most restaurants are closed because they can't do the, as they call it out here, al fresco, because there's no sidewalk or no parking lot or anything for them to occupy. So are you working, or is it shut down?
So right now, I mean, I've just been doing kind of my own thing and spending a lot of time just laying low at home, working on the garden.
Yeah.
Cooking for myself. It's kind of a nice change.
How is it like? Okay, so I've
retirement feels like okay.
So I've been following you on Instagram. Obviously, we're friends, and when you cook at home, you don't just like, me and my wife are good cooks. Like, we cook every night, and she'll say she's better than me, but she probably is better than me. But like, when we cook, it's just kind of like we're just kind of cooking to get this meal done, and the meal's really good, and we're really happy with it. But when you're cooking at home on your Instagram, I mean, it's like you're spending the whole day cooking just for dinner. It's like impressive. You're literally like taking all your chef skills and everything. Do you ever just like do a regular like grilled cheese, or is your grilled cheese going to be like chef level?
I mean, I like to do a grilled ham and cheese, but you got butter and mayonnaise on there. So it's all, it's can't stop, won't stop. Don't actually know how to stop.
There you go. I mean, I get that. I mean, I discovered the mayonnaise as the browning agent on the outside of their bread about a year ago, and I've never done it the same way ever. I've never done it with butter ever again. It is a game changer.
Chef's kiss. Just
all right. So you said you were kind of doing some pop-ups, or what I've seen on your Instagram. You're doing this ramen.
Yeah,
this ramen shop
has definitely been, I mean, the most successful. The like South Bay teriyaki burger with the black garlic onion jam definitely didn't suck, but
yeah,
the ramen's been super fun. Hadn't ever made proper alkaline ramen noodles before, so we got into that. We're making the noodles from scratch. As that gets bigger and bigger, we'll see. I might just go use Sun Noodles, but Sun Noodles is basically the best you can buy. That's pretty much what every ramen shop in LA uses. So
yeah,
but it's been good. Just doing. But I'm getting weird with it, doing a 48-hour chicken broth, and
all right,
really taking the time to make a really awesome tare for it, which is just kind of the shoyu and your other different flavorings that go into that. So
are you, I obviously we've kind of established that you very much enjoy cooking and experimenting and having a, in home, but as the pop-up, is this ramen shop, is it something that you're doing? Like, I mean, are you making money off of it, or is it a break-even endeavor? And just
it actually making a couple of bucks.
Okay, great. finding a way to like, keep the skills sharpened and, kind of stay
the first
keep busy.
couple little pop-ups were a little rough, a little rusty, but comes back pretty quick.
You know what's funny is LA is not a very big pop-up-y town compared to some other cities like DC, that you don't open a brick and mortar in DC until you've done a solid year of pop-ups. Like, it's kind of your proof of concept. Investors would rather see that you've, fleshed this out over a year of, market testing versus give you the money right out the gate to open up a place. Like even established chefs still will pop up for at least 6 months before they're, open something. LA is not the same. Excuse me?
Oh, sorry. I said it's definitely a great opportunity to just test stuff out without, committing to, say, enough ingredients to run that dish for a week in a restaurant.
Right. Yeah. I wish LA gotten bored on it. I mean, I've seen pop-up burger places, and now that you have breweries popping up, I mean, not popping up, that would be redundant, but breweries now being more prevalent in LA, you see like smaller, like I don't quite have enough money for a food truck, but I'm making awesome burgers type places. But it's a different vibe because here in LA, I think we have taco trucks, we have, food carts on the street, but a pop-up, for those who aren't like, that's like a real, like you take over, usually in DC, you're taking over a location, a warehouse or somebody, you're coming into like a bar's place for like a Monday or something. And it's a full on seated, chef's dinner. I guess the question being is like, do you think there's a reason why LA hasn't kind of really gravitated towards that pop-up model, or am I just completely off base and I've just been not invited to all these cool events?
I mean, they're definitely happening out there, but I think you're right. I think a lot of people did really go for the food truck model or just the food cart, or I mean, there's everything that the people are doing at Smorgasburg. So there is that. Yeah. There's quite a few opportunities like that for people to sort of have their pop-up.
Yeah.
I know was that Melody Wine Bar over in Virgil Village. They do pop-ups over all the time over there. I was doing some stuff with them as well.
Yeah.
So had seating actually opened up, I could have had sort of a fully functioning little ramen shop over there, but
that'd be awesome.
To go doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a buddy here. He Michael Stempner. I'm hoping to get him on the show, but he ran a sushi restaurant out of his loft downtown, and you'd have these underground sushi dinners, and that was like the closest real pop-up that I've been a part of. I mean, there was a couple, I've seen a couple, but they would be like one-offs for like a week. This was like, he did this, every other night, in his loft. It was an ongoing thing. And now he owns a restaurant in New York,
Nice. Yeah, I've been kind of considering possibly doing something along that line. There's definitely enough space for it here.
I mean, now like you have all these opportunity ahead of you. I mean, I try and looking at this as positively as I can with the restaurant industry hurting as much as it is that, unfortunately places are going to close, but that means fortunately in a couple months time, there's going to be places available. And there's going to be that need to fill the void of all the shutdown. So definitely, I think the smart thing is kind of, build a brand while you can, if you want to do like ramen, like start, I think what you're doing is 100% smart. You build out the brand, you get known for that dish. And then if the opportunity presents itself down the road, then you can kind of just slot it right into that existing space, and then you're up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see, while we are losing a lot of good places, I think all these chefs will be back with another project in a year. And, I think just that rebirth of the culinary industry that we're going to see is in the whole world, more so in the United States, because this has sort of been not handled very well.
No. I have a question for you.
I think it's really good. People are going to keep doing some cool stuff, and it'll be back. It's just going to be different, and it's going to be a while.
Yeah. The question I have for you is, With, there's been a couple recent big high profile closures like in the past couple of weeks. But one of the type of places I've been seeing being hit the most are these small, intimate, chef driven restaurants, like, like a 20, 30 seater. That fine dining experience, that chef's menu, chef tasting, chef's table type of restaurants, the small, intimate places where you're pretty much just getting a tasting menu. Do you see that coming? I mean, obviously everything will come back in a long enough timeline, but do you see that like as a thing that is going to, as a business model that's going to continue anytime soon? Do you think that, I mean, obviously small places is hard, but the fine dining experience, we talked a lot in the show about maybe things going to the fast casual aspect. Like, where do you see us going? Like, what are some big losses or trends you think are going to change?
I mean, I think you can already see a lot of these chefs that do have, more of the fine dining aesthetic are switching to kind of more casual, more to go friendly stuff. I mean, I believe Twamek is officially closed now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I saw.
So, but I mean, he's been, I think, one of the best examples of people who are using that internet, that outlet to, because if you've been on his website for Petit Trois, he's got the butter, he's got quart containers of oil, quart containers of flour, and he's really just utilizing that marketplace to save what he can from his businesses.
I honestly, my opinion is I think that restaurants turn into mini marts is kind of the way to go. Like if you're going to, I was going to say Tironi, but Tironi just, I heard, is closing. But, go to a restaurant, an Italian place that's known for their pasta that they make in-house. That place should be selling dried pasta that they make in-house. Like if they're not, you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity to offset a loss in revenue due to customers not coming in. So, you make your own bone broth, sell it. You make your own stock, the same thing. Like you make your own bread, you make your own, like whatever you can do to sell. Not to mention that most of these restaurants have access to high quality goods at a arguably discounted cost of what they would cost if one were to go to a supermarket and buy them.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of the way a lot of these chef driven places are going to go. Like, take the, the restaurant marketplace model a little bit more. I mean, yeah.
I think it's a good model regardless. And I mean, I think, to go back to answering your question, I think that this is going to be a big way that people keep their smaller restaurants, and that eventually, that fine dining will come back, but that's going to be the longest thing to really recover.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I think, obviously, I think most people would agree that the fine dining experience is the pinnacle of why we love this industry and why we love going out to eat, because you're tasting, artistry on a plate, so to speak. And for that to be a loss or a long road to come back is it's going to be tough. But I think things that you're doing with like a pop-up potentially could have, it just changes the way we look on it, right? You have a very high quality product that you're delivering to people, who order it, right? It's, it's a very similar product at the end. It's just the delivery system's different. So I am curious to see how some celebrity chefs, handle the transition from, cooking in the kitchen and presenting a final product like this. And then how do they, box it up and find a way to emulate that experience at home, I think should be an interesting challenge. All right. So I've been to your house. So people know this. Fair warning, I've been to your house. And when I was there, I was shocked at how much fermentation you have going on in your place. For some people who may not be familiar, can you walk through lacto fermentation, why we do it, from the chef's perspective of it?
Well, I mean, it's a very traditional, kind of ancient form of fermentation, and it's, different products. There's some slight differences, but it's a very natural way of fermenting things. Pretty much you're just taking your vegetables, maybe a couple other things in there, and salting them. And really you're just drawing out the liquid from that product, and you're using the lactobacillus bacteria, which is pretty much everywhere, in everything, on everything. And that'll just kind of, the salt creates a certain level of safety, and you just kind of let the bacteria go, do its thing. It'll, products like that do tend to last, forever. When was the last time you had kimchi go bad?
Yeah. I keep having to tell my wife that. She's like, Eric, are you ever finished this kimchi? Is it bad? I'm like, no, it's fine.
It went bad already.
It's already an acceptable level of rotten. Like, it's fine. It's totally fine.
It's only going to get better. I mean, you really got to watch stuff, because lacto ferments can grow mold. They can get infected, but once you learn kind of the basics of it, it's pretty cool.
As long as in my experience, as long as they're submerged, as long as there's still some liquid in there, like with something like kimchi, if you for some reason like drinking the liquid and you just have like exposed cabbage in a jar in your fridge, that's gonna go bad eventually. But as long as it's still under some liquid, it tends to last forever. What are some of the things? What is the craziest thing you've fermented recently?
Yeah, I've actually been slacking on the fermenting. I haven't brewed anything in a while either. And it's actually kind of nice to not have these big live products that you have to worry about. So it's a little stress-free. But what did I make? I mean, always the fermented hot sauce. I'm actually going to pop by whatever next farmer's market I can get to and make another big batch of the Tiger hot sauce.
Yeah, I saved some Fresnos from Clayton's when we closed down, and I didn't get around to them soon enough, and they went on me. But that was my goal, was to make hot sauce.
Oh, it's such a world of difference doing the fermented hot sauces. You just get such an interesting depth of flavor.
Yeah,
and just, even though Tabasco is fermented, they kind of just like blow all the flavor out with vinegar.
Yeah, and same with Sriracha, right? Sriracha is fermented as well. Yeah. That's what I was telling. Okay. Going back a little bit to the, a restaurant being a market, there's no reason, if you're a restaurant in today's climate, why you're not getting on board with making like your own mustard, your own fermented hot sauce in-house, because that allows you the opportunity to package it, slap a label on it, and sell it to the customer as an off-premise item. I know it's easy to take Frank Red Hot sauce and add some butter to it and maybe a couple herbs and spices and have buffalo sauce, but it's so much better if you made that hot sauce base yourself, right? And then it's just one more thing to sell offsite. Like I hope that that's the only way to survive right now, is to turn yourself into a brand and sell merch, essentially. Like, you have to. But yeah, that was one thing I've been meaning to get around to. It's just, I don't know. I started this thing and this consumes my life now. And
hobbies and projects will do that.
Yeah. I met you, I think the first time I met you was at Shibumi. Yes. I was bartending there. And we hit it off pretty much right away. And what I loved about Shibumi, for those who aren't familiar is you went there for an experience. It was definitely arguably one of the best bites you could get in town. Like single bite, like an experience.
I was in there all the time when they first opened.
Yeah. You were like easily like 3 nights a week, if not more. And it was definitely a chef's place. I mean, a lot of chefs came in that place, and Chef Dave is doing over there is amazing, and his earned Michelin star is 100% warranted. But those experiences, what I loved about working there and what I loved about going there and still going there to eat there, is the experience of walking in that place and knowing that I'm going there and having an incredible experience. What are some of your favorite, since a lot of places are closing down, what are some of those favorite experiences you had over the years here in LA? Like, I don't, people think of LA and they think of tacos. They're not always on everyone's lips for, fine dining experiences, or just not even just like culinary experiences across the board. Like what are some of those memories that stand out to you about like really going out in town in LA?
Let's see here. It's always a good question. I mean, I think one of the big ones that just comes to mind right away is Ursa and Winston. My buddy Joel was the chef over there for a long time. Kind of Japanese flavors, American flavors, a little French technique, but it was just, every time I went, it was consistently amazing, and they also a very well-earned Michelin star right there for them. They were great. I went to Key Spaka for my birthday one year. That was over the top, man. We just ate everything. It definitely just got, absolutely wrecked. Just waddling out of there. Oh God. Shibumi, of course. Also funny. Definitely couldn't have been 3 days a week because I only usually had one, maybe two if I was lucky, days off. So.
Yeah, but to be honest, you were waiting for that restaurant to open up. So there was a period where you were in there like nightly because you were waiting for the restaurant to open.
God. And remember, so many restaurants, so little time.
So for those who aren't chefs who are listening to this, for those who are, they might not even work in the restaurant industry, can you kind of peel back the curtain of what it's like for a chef to, go to another chef's place to check them out? Like kind of that, more than VIP experience that people get? Like,
it's always, some people are very picky. People are weird about going out to eat, at other restaurants. And I think a lot of that just, in LA, this ego. There's just so much fucking ego out here. Everyone's guilty of it, but I've always tried to just always go somewhere with an open mind. Just, never expect free shit. Half the time I try not to even mention that I'm a chef, but it does kind of tend to come out in the end. But a big one that I went to recently was Auburn. It was Eric Bost, amazing chef. It was actually our good friend Rick I saw him that night too.
Nice.
But it's special. It's very much, sharing an experience with that chef, with his team, and just, appreciating everything that comes your way. Because, sometimes you get blown up, sometimes you don't. And as long as you have a good experience, that's the important part.
I even feel like those times when you don't get like hooked up and you still get a little something, because I think what I love most about going out, especially as a GM, I get similar, not the same, but similar treatment when I kind of announce myself going to a place, because you end up getting like, they want to show off. They were like, hey, check out this thing I'm working on. It's not on the menu yet. And I think to me, that's always been one of the joys of working in the industry is that, oh, check this out. They all get super excited about something.
The camaraderie of it.
Yeah. And they're like, they'll know you'll figure that it would be cool and that you'll appreciate all their hard work more than I think that, some celebrity or, high roller coming in. Like the fact that you can geek out over, like I remember that with Shibumi,
Hey, check this out. Oh, what is it? What'd you make? Oh man, I'm fucking excited. What is that?
Yeah. The sea cucumber just came in. Like, you have to try it. It's just fresh. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, like who eats sea cucumber, Dave? Like, come on. Delicious, by the way. Absolutely delicious.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always so much is just really a big part of it. And is just, I'm fucking excited about this new dish. Try it.
Yeah. I hope that's something that never changes, because I think that unfortunately a side effect of our current events is you're going to start seeing even bigger spotlight on margins and food costs and all that stuff, just because, you have to really make sure that you're making money with less customers. But I hope they're always still trying to sneak in that one little bite and just be like, here, try this thing. It's not on the menu yet. It's new. Like,
I definitely think so. Even in the pop-up stuff I've done, throw in, whether it's usually just something little, but like, there's a little half order of, like, I was doing dumplings one week. So I just threw a couple of people, family members, whatever, like, oh, here's a little half order of dumplings, or here's
Nice.
some cucumber salad, or just
Yeah.
a little something. So it's always like a nice surprise, because you get so many people that support you, and it's good to take care of people.
And like from a manager, I've always tried to work in, the past 3 places I worked in, we've always tried to have something that was a real low cost item that was always on the ready. Cause I think every guest can appreciate that. If like, you sending out deviled eggs, or, at Shibumi was sending out the cucumbers, and, sending out just this little bite that kind of just goes, hey, thanks for coming in. Here's a little something. And it doesn't cost us anything. It's not like comping a meal or sending out a dessert. It's just like that little extra, like, this is small bite. It's the gesture of it that I think goes a million miles in this industry.
It really does. Just that, I mean, even the smallest amount of acknowledgement is, especially, a big thing too, chefs and other industry people, is going into another kitchen, usually, depending on the kitchen, you bring a 12-pack of beer, a bottle of whiskey, or for some people who don't really want that drinking, you bring in some soda, you bring in some LaCroix. Like, hey, working on the line, it's fucking hot. Who doesn't like, hey man, I got you guys some ice cold LaCroix.
Yeah, sure.
It sounds goofy, but it's the little things in this industry that really do make the, it's that extra mile.
I think one of the favorite things I see on any menu when I go to a place where I know, like, this is a place I want to keep giving my money to, is when you see on the menu under the drinks and it says buy the chefs around, and it's like a $30 round of drinks or beers or whatever like that. I like to imagine that they're actually getting those beers, but I also know that I've worked in a lot of places where those beers come after the shift, and a lot of people are like, well, I'm going home. Fuck it. Like, I'm out of here. But I think just the notion of like, all right, I'm going to put that on the menu so people know that these guys are out here busting their ass in, 120 degree kitchens.
I've always been a big fan of that. I mean, I probably wouldn't put it on my menu, but I still totally support it. I mean, God, what was it at H-Lay? Just because that was such an industry spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one day, I think there was 160 beers for the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen that get up to a point where nobody's drinking those beers anymore, and the bar's just making money.
God. I mean, just start, sending people home with 12 packs. Like, let's just take this. Like, it's too much.
No, at that point, you just don't. I mean, I hate to be the asshole, but just don't tell the kitchen. Like, that's just becomes revenue at the point. Just give them a round or two and thank them for the time. And I mean, if you have some extra beers laying around, sure, but.
Oh no, I mean, at that point, if people are bringing in, because people just bring in 30 racks.
Oh, well, that's different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's people bringing beer in.
Yeah.
I think that might have been somewhere around my birthday, which is kind of close to Christmas. So people were just like, oh, happy holidays. Oh, Geiger, it's your birthday. Here's 2 30 racks of PBR and a bottle of whiskey. And it's just like, oh, fuck.
I mean, those chefs and their whiskey and drinks, man. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, like in one of the last episodes, like with bartenders drinking. But chefs can go, man. They can go.
Trying to.
Especially line cooks. Yeah.
Oh, those were the days.
What are some of those crazy days for you?
Oh man, I mean, that San Francisco was just fucking. I mean, it was just go time all the time.
Right.
Like, one restaurant that I worked at, there was definitely like a bottle of whiskey in one of the lockers at like all times. People would buy the kitchen shots and they'd bring them in during service.
I mean,
that too. I mean, just so much. Like, LA has been a lot more beer in terms of people bringing in liquor. Up there in SF, I mean, I moved up there in 2011, and then kind of left at like the end of 2014-ish.
Yeah.
But up there, that was just fucking bottles of liquor. Handles of fucking Jameson and shit. Just like,
oh man,
absolute mayhem all the time. But still, because that's very much a thing that chefs do, is still operating and just maintaining a fucking gorgeous product. Yeah.
I mean, we touched on the last episode that I just put out. I maintain if you can do your job, and then I don't really see the problem with it. I mean, obviously you want it to be a special occasion on an everyday occasion, because then it gets sloppy and people cut their fingers off, especially in the kitchen. But like if you can continue to work at certain level, like at the Viper Room, I had to climb a 2-story to the roof every night. So as long as I was able to do that, I knew I was not drunk. If I could climb this ladder,
there you go,
and hang over Sunset to change the marquee every night, I was okay.
Oh yeah, and that one of the restaurants up there too. We'd have Sunday pool parties.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd set up the big grill outside. They'd have DJs. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going hard on the day off, man. Restaurants closed, I take it, on a Sunday?
So Sundays we were open for brunch.
Okay.
And then we'd close down brunch, close down the kitchen, flip the grill outside, open up outside, start selling burgers and sausages and veggie patties. And
so I used to expo brunch. And for those who've never, you don't know, working in the kitchen on brunch may be the worst shift.
Yes.
And you guys you're either going down in flames on a daily basis or weekly basis, or you become just like iron. And
complete fucking machinery.
And also a little note, I doubt there's a single brunch kitchen in any restaurant right now that, if not all, but most of those people are getting hammered during that service.
Always. Yeah. I mean, places up there, I mean, we do what? 350 covers in like 4 hours.
It's insane on a Sunday.
Yeah. Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. When I worked at Artisan House, when I first started there, I was just moved back to LA and I needed a gig, and my friend was the chef. So I said she needed help in the kitchen. So I was like, I'll help out and I'll expo. I was already an established server, bartender, and I was but I'll do it, whatever. And you gain this different perspective working on the line like that, for sure. But it got to a point where like every brunch we'd ask the servers for coffees. It's like, can we get some coffee? And it was just mimosas and coffee cups.
Right.
Just sitting there drinking with our coffees. And
yeah, there's a point at which everything is just so fucking pardon me, I need to go scream in the walk-in. I'll be right back.
Yep. I mean,
you go, you scream in the walk-in, you come back, you get back on the line, you do your fucking job.
I maintain this. The eggs, 2 eggs anyway, is the single dumbest thing to have on a restaurant's menu for brunch. The all-American breakfast, fuck it. The notion that
basically just have to have one person whose job is to cook eggs. That's
so. First off, poaching eggs to scale like that is tricky enough, and they all have to be 90% there. You know what I mean? Like, it can be a little bit funky, and you can hide your crimes with some hollandaise sauce for a Benedict, but it's got to be.
Can't though,
and you can't. But you can fudge your touch. You either did it right or you didn't do it right. But like how many times like those eggs would sit until they had to get plated, and they'd have break. You have to do another one. My buddy John, who worked that. He would never throw plates during the week cooking, but every Sunday brunch that he worked, just chucking pans down in the bins and just cursing everyone, because he was in poached egg hell every single day for like 3-4 hours. It's no fun. But I maintain, like anything in life, those shit experiences make you better in the long run. So I highly recommend any line cook out there who's hoping to find their way through. You got to work brunch, Same with servers.
You're working brunch. If you don't know how much nicer even a fucking super busy dinner service is than a busy brunch, like you're never quite going to get it.
No, every new server
absolutely just absolutely fucked for like an entire service.
Every new server I had, that's you're working brunch. I can't work Saturdays and Sundays. Well, then you're not getting a job because you have to work brunch first. You just have to. It's like kind of a rite of passage.
Definitely.
Fuck what your availability is. We'll figure that out down the road. But you got to work at least Saturday or Sunday brunch before you get any. I mean, you work. I always say you work days before you work nights. Like it's those money positions are earned. Now you could very quickly jump up the ranks in like a week or two if you were excellent, but I mean, you're still going through the paces. It's, it's initiation almost, but yeah, you have to work brunch. And I also maintain that everyone should work brunch, period. I don't care if you've worked in this industry before, like you need to experience what it is in the back of the house for brunch just to be a better human being in life and have a little bit more patience.
No, yeah. One restaurant I worked at, we did eggs in a hole.
Jesus.
Which people could order to temp. Like I'm fucking shedding like a single tear on the inside, but like, you just get a little bit of the like 1,000-yard stare from that. Just like, oh God.
So what I want right now, Gabe, is I want egg in a hole. I want it well done, but I don't want my bread to be overcooked. And I will send it back if it's too dark, my bread.
Yes.
Those people, man. So, okay. So good. So like at Faith, we had brunch and we had 2 eggs it was 2 eggs any way you wanted them. Right.
Oh, thank God we didn't have that one.
It was just a side. You could just get that. So this mother comes in with her kid and she asks for 2 soft boiled eggs.
Okay. Jesus.
And at first the kitchen just sends out hard boiled eggs because we have hard boiled eggs just sitting there. Like, we use them in salads and they're always like kind of pre-done, and they get sent back obviously because she wants soft. And I walk back to check on them and this poor dude's just trying to peel off this soft boiled egg, and like trying to peel the shell off of it. And it's trying not to break it, and it broke one, has to do it. And he looks at it, and I think it was one of the sous chefs, and he goes, "Who ordered this?" And I go, "The menu says 2 eggs any style. This is a style, isn't it?" And he looks at me. I'm like, "I didn't make the menu, buddy. Like I would, in my opinion, that should not be an option because people want soft boiled eggs, especially if they got a kid."
I still maintain that. Fuck you. You get your eggs soft scrambled, hard scrambled.
Yep.
Over easy or over hard.
Yep.
Like if there's something with poached, you can have it poached, but if not, fuck you.
I go one step further. I say that every brunch item is a different style of egg, and that's the only way you can get it. Right? If you have a soft scramble, that's its dish. You have a hard scramble, that's more like a omelet, right? And then you have, if you want steak and eggs, it's steak and eggs comes in a burrito, and that's it because the eggs only come scrambled in that burrito. So like you just eliminate choice from people. And
sometimes we got to give them a little choice. Sometimes.
Not a brunch, man. Not a brunch. Just brunch is hard enough. You add bottomless mimosas to the pit, or
Ooh. Absolutely fucking shit hammered out there.
All right. So what I'll tell you, I'll start off. I'll tell you my favorite horror story working a bottomless mimosa brunch. At Artisan House, we would just literally pop bottles, give you a carafe of OJ and pop a new bottle for you. Right. Mm. We didn't fill it up. You could have as many bottles as you wanted for, I think it was like $40 or $50 or something like that. And these are cheap ass bottles,
Yeah.
But still, so trying to cut somebody off when the word bottomless is in their ordering, when they're not too bright to begin with, is a tricky dance, right? When you go, well, I think you've had enough. Well, no, they're bottomless. I can have as many as I want. So right there, and the thing, like you have to, like the mental gymnastics you have to do to explain to somebody that they're too drunk. Well, we had one of these tables that we tried to cut off at one point. And they argued, and they had a really big bill. So the manager at the time was like, just kind of let them continue going a little bit.
Oh, no.
And sure enough, it gets to a certain point where they're screaming and yelling, and then one girl just straight up boots all over the table, just projectile vomits in the dining room all over the table. And now we got to kick them out. And the best part is they want to split this tab like 5-6 ways.
Of course they do.
At some point, you gotta be fucking. It's like that's probably the shittiest I've seen brunch in a non like rooftop, type of club environment.
Rooftop to anything, it just takes it a whole step further.
This isn't a nicer restaurant, but it got so fucking shitty on a Sunday.
I have one that goes a whole nother step further that's just absolutely terrible. I can tell you that story, but it's actually fucking disgusting.
Go for it.
So
you've been warned, people.
Oh yeah, that's there's a trigger warning on this. You might want to skip forward slightly. It's actually disgusting, and that's coming from me. Place that did the dance parties. We open up. There had been a line. It's a big dance party. I don't remember what it was called. The doo-wop something, but so there are people lined up, drinking in line, puking in line, and that's 30 minutes before we've even opened the door.
Jeez.
So relatively chill on the food, actually, until the last 30 minutes, at which point everyone decided they were fucking drunk and needed to get food. So we just got, bent over and spanked a little bit there at the end.
Right.
But, relatively like that, just a bunch of little tiny drunk girls and just so many people getting kicked the fuck out. It was actually kind of amazing. So that's pretty normal, whatever dance party sort of story. So here's where it gets worse. I come in the next day and working on some like fermentation projects, some other stuff. And it's just like, you know what? I'm going to come in on my day off, not have to worry about anybody else in the kitchen, just like work on my stuff. So I go in, get in, I walk in, I'm like, man, it smells funky in here. This is a pretty good sized restaurant. Like there's a front dining room with a bar. And then there's kind of a big lounge in the back with another bar. And so there's bathrooms on both sides. Takes me a while to figure it out, but I wind up going all the way into the lounge and I'm like, all right, it just smelled like, where is this coming from? Like, oh my God, what is this? Wind up, check the men's bathroom and nothing. Check the women's bathroom, look in stall. And I open that door and it's just like punch in the fucking face. Like bad. And, go in there. I'm like, all right, well, it's whatever it is, it's in here.
Right.
And open stall 1, fine. Open stall 2, poop this far out of the toilet. People were squatting and pooping just repeatedly. It's the absolute worst thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So I call a plumber. Plumber gets here. I'm like, bro, I'm going to tell you, like, it's real bad. It's real fucking scary. Plumber looks at me like I'm insane. He's like, I'm a plumber. I've been doing this forever. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. Bro. I'm like, okay. Fine. You go back there. It's in the second stall. Like, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to be that guy? You go be that guy.
Right.
Guy comes back about 60 seconds later. Looks a little white. This motherfucker looks at me and goes, I have never seen anything like that in my career. Comes back about 5 minutes later in a fucking hazmat suit. And he was back there for a good 3 hours.
Oh my God. With a shop vac.
He's probably a shovel.
Jesus.
It's the worst thing I've ever done.
What is wrong with people? Who does that?
Drunk girls.
Dude, I'll say this for the record. Women, y'all's restrooms in public places are far worse than men's. And this is coming from a person who runs a restaurant. And I've seen both restaurants, like both bathrooms.
I've seen a lot of bathrooms and
what? It's just like, it's like a war zone in every, like at Faith's a really nice place. Those stalls would get destroyed.
Oh yeah.
Like destroyed.
And I honestly don't know why it was me having to do this, but I've definitely cleaned vomit out of pretty much all of the restrooms for the front of the house restrooms when I was running that kitchen. Like, I don't know why I was doing it.
Because because the busters there thought they were hot shit because they had the owner's phone number. And every time I tried to fire them on week 1. And was like, no, you can't fire them. This, Cindy loves them. And I'm like, but they fucking suck. They complain about everything. So that was my pride at that place, is like, I'm telling you to do your job. I'm not telling you not to do anything that's not your job. You want to go complain to my boss? I have all the confidence in the world. I can out talk that scenario. And I did every time. I just was like, just do your fucking job. You're a busser.
Oh, like and that's across all positions in restaurants. You always get the fucking people who just don't want to do something for whatever reason. I mean, my brief time in corporate, thankfully, the contracts, whatever paperwork that the cook signed, because this was for a pretty big casino.
Yeah.
Said specifically that yes, while you are a member of the union, you will still be occasionally required to do prep work. You will occasionally be required to clean a little bit extra. And some of these guys, they signed the paperwork, but obviously they didn't read it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but that's not my job. And I'm like, hold up copy of the signed contract. No, it says right here it is.
Yeah. It's just you have it folded up in your apron at all times. Right here.
At the beginning I did sometimes.
Yeah. You got to read what you sign in this day and age. I mean, that's just smart. That's tough, right? So casinos, hotels, you get the unions to deal with. For those who don't know, right? We talked about on the show, I've talked about, wages that servers and, front of the house make. When you're a bartender and you're working in Los Angeles at a restaurant or a bar, you're making minimum wage, which is right now, depending on the size of the place, anywhere between $14 and $15 an hour. But when you work at a hotel, you're getting union wages as a bartender. So you're making $18, sometimes $19 an hour plus the tips.
I think it's about 21 right now.
Well, everything has gone up. I'm basing this off of, yeah. So, I mean, before July, so last, up until this month, it was for a place under 25 employees. It was $13.25 an hour for minimum wage. And now it's $14.25 an hour. And if it was above 25 last year, it was $14.25 and now it's 15. So next year, a place like I work that's under 25, it will finally become $15 an hour. But right now, minimum wage, if you're 25 and up, is $15 an hour in Los Angeles. But at a hotel, you're a union. And so that's probably $20 now at this point. So, unions are good and they're bad, because then you have people go, well, it's not my job anymore. Every production I've worked on with unions, don't touch that. It's not your job. And I go, but it's there and I got hands. It's not your job. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's all in place for, a very good reason, but the operational aspect of it can be a little, with these big union kitchens. I mean, it's kind of wild, it's someone shifts ends, next person comes in, that person barely, they do a cursory wipe down and they switch out and that's it. It's funny that you say casinos, because I always use the casino dealer analogy. So many bartenders would I'm not the closing one, so I'm out of here mid shift, and they would just act like a blackjack dealer, and they would leave. And I'm like, no, it's just do this. You still have to do. I know you're not closing, but you still have to close some stuff, break down a well, do something, and just have to break down this mentality of well, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go home now. Especially in the kitchen. I've seen people do that too, and they don't last very long, those people. No. Absolutely fucking unacceptable. It's just disrespectful to the other people you work with. Oh, here's my mess. Okay, bye. Yeah.
You're not going to last long. And for me, when it goes back to those busters, it was the notion of well, it's not my section, because they had sections. And I'm yeah. I'm telling you as your boss, I need your hands over there, because I don't know where the other two people are whose section it may be. I see you. You're not doing anything. Go do what I asked you to do. It's not like I'm asking you to, build me a house. I'm asking you to do your job, just in a different part of the room than you thought you were doing your job in. I hate that. It's not my section is the worst mentality on the front of the house. And it's I see it in the kitchen too, where it's just hey, so-and-so called down, I need you to cover these stations. And I can't imagine the audacity of a cook saying that's not my station.
I mean, I actually thankfully haven't heard. I've had cooks bitch about being asked to do other prep projects when it's slow, but Thankfully, I don't think I've heard someone pull a "that's not my station" in a good 10 years.
Right. But they do it in the front of the house. Like, it's insane. It's like, pick up this table
Those aren't my tables.
yeah, that's not my job. I hate that. It's the easiest way to get like a very short career in this industry is not being a team player, because we're all in it together. It's a shared experience for us, just like it was a shared experience for guests in the restaurant. Like, you go to places for experiences. Like you like to, some people don't like loud restaurants, but some people love loud restaurants because everyone's sharing in the same thing. But when you're working front back of the house, when you're working in a restaurant, we're all in the shit together. When we got 350 covers coming on a Friday night and the rush is happening, like an hour into service, like we're all in it together. And if you have a shitty attitude, it really gums up the works.
It makes it hard for everyone. Like,
yeah,
there's a point at which, like, to a degree, yeah, it's not your job, but like everything is everyone's job. Like, do we all want to make money? Do we all want to work somewhere that is an amazing, successful restaurant that people want to come to over and over and over again? Well, that takes a little bit of humility and a little bit of just willing to do things that aren't necessarily your job. Like, just get in there, get it done. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess the big joke is managers are the most, overpaid busser runners in the whole industry. It's like, that's all I do. I run food and I clear tables and I run drinks. And then I also have to deal with unhappy, unsatisfied customers. Like, that's the life of a manager in a very busy restaurant. Like, I don't, didn't stop moving, constantly moving around because it's from the kitchen to the bar, touch tables all the way around. Chef sends you out to go touch a table because their food's dragging. Like, it's, you're like a ping pong ball,
it's always something,
and that notion of, then as servers, just so they can understand the mentality of managers who maybe aren't as open as I was when I worked, is that like when then I ask you to go do something, it's because I'm already doing half of your job already. Like, to any manager out there, I want to kind of do a poll maybe after this. I'll figure it out. I want to know of any managers who've actually had to take tables. If you are like me and you keep a mental tab in your head of how much money you've made that server in their lifetime, because there are servers I made thousands of dollars. Like, I have upsold liquor. We're making the restaurant money, which is great, but I know for a fact that they're rich because I physically did the work. I'm the one who sold their table on a whiskey.
Expensive and
and,
try this whiskey that's $40 a glass instead of 17.
Exactly.
People bite and they're like, all right, we'll take 4.
Exactly. And I did have one server who anytime she got in the weeds for lunches and I had to take tables and they left her nice tips, she was like, well, I'm going to keep bringing you cold brew coffees every day. And to her credit, she wasn't every time, but she every now and then brought me in cold brew coffees, which I'm like, all right, well, at least you understand.
Acknowledgement.
At least you acknowledge the work that I'm doing for you.
I mean, sometimes it's, you can say the same thing in the kitchen. Like, those cooks that are still doing a good job, but, it's just a station that gets weeded.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a busy station. So you're over there and, you're hopping off Expo and pulling one of the front of the house managers to work Expo so you can run over there and help dig everybody out of the weeds.
Yeah. I mean, it's something to be said, right? It's fascinating to me that, like, I don't want to be insulting, and so I'm going to tread carefully here. For those who aren't in the know, a kitchen in a restaurant is designated by different cooking areas, right? So you have your salad section, which is typically Grand Marché, and then they have cold apps come out of there. You have a plancha, which is a flat top cook. You have your grill, right? You have an oven. You have all these different areas. So sometimes a kitchen's designed where people can pivot like a cockpit, like can go from plancha to oven because they're right next to each other, right? And then sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's dedicated and you're stuck on one side. It's always fascinating to me when you work in kitchens that are set up this way, like they have these designated areas that are large enough to get that sometimes thought doesn't go into the menu to balance out the food items.
Where dishes are coming off of. I mean, that's definitely something that, I mean, in my experience, that's always in the back of my head. This,
It's
we need to take some dishes off of this station. How can we switch them up a little bit so that it's not just, one person standing in the corner while another station is just like fucking drowning.
Yeah. And then, and not being a way to help that person. Like if if plancha's dying, you can't help them out because the dishes only get cooked. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe you can move something off plancha and fake it and saute, but then it's not going to be the same. And some chefs don't want that. And man, I've worked in some kitchens, and I'm sure but all of a sudden, like the oven, which the more stuff you shove in an oven, especially if you have a brick oven, the colder that oven gets. So you have to like kind of space out what goes in it and how often you're putting things in there. So when you have like, say, pizzas, and pizzas are quite popular, and you can only cook like maybe 4 or 5 at a time.
If you're lucky.
And then you add in 3, 4 other oven items that are entrees. Forget about it, dude.
Back to the cauliflower again.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden now your kitchen's doomed to fail and burn every night because there's going to be those 2 young kids who just can afford pizza and they were told to go check it out for the cocktails. So they ordered a couple pizzas. I don't know. It's like, I get it, all the hard work that goes into it, but I just sometimes look at it and go, I feel like maybe having only 3 sauteed items and everything else coming out of the grill and the oven is probably not the best way to, or vice versa.
There are definitely better ways and worse ways to design your menu.
But again, that comes from a different mentality, right? I think the biggest arguments I ever got with Chef Mike is his mentality of how a kitchen is run from a chef's perspective, which I totally, is totally valid. And I never argued with his logic ever, but then it was my point of view of how to run it from, an operational side of a managerial side of it, things, and us not seeing eye to eye and all that stuff. Like a good example is like the pizza thing I mentioned, because we use a pick system. So, the expo would kind of put a bunch of items on one thing and they fire them all together. But, you
can only make so many pizzas in that oven.
Exactly. But it was the notion of why is he making 3 at one time and then putting 3 in the oven when he could make 1, put 1 in the oven, make the second one, put the second one in the oven, start making the third one, pull the first one out, put the third one in. Like it was this constant conveyor belt that I saw that to me seemed more efficient. Because I see what you're saying, but you're wrong. You're just wrong. It's not quicker that way. And I go, okay, sure. I mean, I'm not gonna die on this hill, but it's just that was a clash of like expedient, like expediting the whole process. It was just like we never saw it. But yeah, it's a couple reasons I don't work there anymore. But yeah, that's
all kinds of things coming out about people involved with that place that I don't want to get into. But
no, I'm not touching that one.
No, not at all.
Y'all can read the news yourself.
Yeah, it's out there. Look it up. It's fucking wild.
And yeah, and I'll just say that a lot of opinions on it are not mistaken or wrong. So it is what it is. That's all I'm gonna say on it.
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing else to be said. It's pretty good journalism.
Now I really want like actual pizza.
Fuck man, I got Round Table the other day, dude.
Wow.
I
since I was like 10.
I'm not above some good Round Table, bro.
If it's cheap to go pizza, I tend to go for the Domino's. I mean,
all right. Yeah.
I won't lie.
I've been craving some Chicago pizza though. I've been seeing that like I don't know, something about an actual pie of pizza with meat and cheese. That's what I've been craving.
A literal pizza pie.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, when that's what you want, I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I do miss, do you remember when there was a Two Boots over in downtown?
I fucking miss Two Boots, dude. The wife and I talk about it all the time. Like, did the whole chain as a company go under, or are they still in New York?
No idea. I mean, this one got like, I actually stopped ordering from there because it just went. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the downtown one fell off for sure, but the downtown one's gone. The Sunset one in Silver Lake is gone, which is now another pizza place. And I'm not sure if because they had like 4 in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Let's ask the, I'm going to look this up real quick because I'm actually.
Let's ask the Google machine.
The Googles.
But they had the best pizza for sure downtown.
And it's all right. Yeah. It looks like at least the one on 42 Avenue A is open still.
Okay.
So. Good for them. I liked their pizza for a long time. It was like, it's hard to find that good balance of like good kind of cheap pizza.
Yeah, I mean they were not cheap by any means, but
they're cheaper than Mozza.
Yes, but because also it's a full size pizza. It's not like it's not a Neapolitan-esque pizza like you would get at Mozza or
I fucking love Mozza too.
I'd rather pay $35 for a 16-inch pie, like an actual solid pizza versus paying $35 for a Neapolitan at Mozza or something. But Mozza is fantastic.
Oh yeah, fucking love it. I love all of her restaurants. So
I love my cousin is a filmmaker, and every now and then I'll run into him like at a family function because he lives in New York, but he's quite successful. But he's like, yeah, you ever been to this place called Mozza in LA? It's great. I'm like, dude, I fucking live here, man. You're telling me you're in town, you went to Mozza and you didn't give me a ring? Like, come on, dude.
That's just fucking rude.
Dude, that's a whole other podcast.
Nice pizza and that Nancy's chop salad. Yeah, it's fucking... That's a good day.
That was like, all right. So Teroni, we've heard, I don't think it's official yet. And hopefully by the time this episode airs, it's been official, but the word on the street is Teroni is done for. And
I never actually made it in there.
It's one of my favorite joints in LA as far as pizza goes. Is great. They have some really great homemade pasta dishes. And it was like date night. Easy date night for the wife and I. We'd go. We'd have a couple Negronis. We'd split a arugula salad, and then we'd split a diavola pizza, and I would get a pasta. And yeah, it was great. But it's a shame that due to COVID, and they got wrecked too in the riots. Did they really? The downtown spot got destroyed.
Oh fuck!
Big windows, big corner. It's a corner restaurant.
Yeah.
And those windows got smashed during that riot that first night. So they had a long road ahead of them. So I think they just said fuck it. Unfortunately.
That's rough. Yeah, I mean but hopefully all these places we lose, they'll come back in one way or another, or plenty of places are going to take their spot, and hopefully it'll be, a new generation of fucking good shit.
I mean, the beauty of it is a lot of these places are built out, right? So a place like Teroni, is tremendously built out. So whoever takes over the spot is kind of like has a turnkey restaurant. Maybe change a couple decorations and whatnot, but you're good to go. So at least, hopefully the food lives up, because nothing's worse than when a spot you love closes and then something else takes over that location.
That's fucking terrible.
And it's just not up to snuff. That's the worst, then you just feel bad, Just
robbed.
All right. A couple quick notes, or questions rather. What are some of your biggest pet peeves that servers do from a kitchen? A guy who works in the kitchen, guy who's an executive chef. So just so this can be somewhat educational for any servers listening.
I mean, I think honestly, it's a lot of the basic stuff. Just the fucking modifications without asking, or just we understand servers get flat sat, but Also take the time to take an order from one table, put that order in. Like even that couple minutes of lead time makes such a huge difference in the kitchen. Like it's one thing I think a lot of servers don't understand, that like, yeah, it'll take a little longer, but if you go put in the orders one at a time, maybe two at a time, that couple minutes, fucking, it will get all of your food out so much faster.
You know, there's a mathematical equation to being triple set on how to handle that. It's not that hard.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'll explain it to everybody. All right. So you're triple set, right? You have table A, table B, and table C. You go up to table A, you greet them, you take their drink order, and you sit with them until you get their food order as best you can. And then on your way to entering in that food order, you go to table B and you take their drink order and say, I'll be right back to take your food order. And then stop at table C and say hello and say, guys, I'll be right with you. Go to the POS, enter in table one's order or A's order in full, enter in table B's drinks. Now you go to C, take their drink order, go back to B, take their food order, repeat at the POS, and then you go to C and take their food order. It's really not that hard. And the fact that
that's kind of standard, like what in my head, that's what I'm already doing. But then hearing it out loud described like that, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's what everyone should be doing.
Now I totally concede that there is 1,000 things that can prevent you from doing this in a restaurant. Like you get flagged by another table who needs your attention, or, you know, table A's and, you know, but having the core basics down and understanding the philosophy behind being triple set allows you to navigate through any scenario where you don't sandbag the kitchen by putting 3 large orders in at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, then, you know, because what always winds up happening is then everyone's doing it. And so you're like, wait, we just had 15 tables come in.
Yeah.
Thank God fucking.
I think the largest cardinal sin a server can do is sandbag a kitchen or a bar. And even if it's just like you walk from one POS to another POS.
Yeah, that little bit of time. Like,
yep. It's just like, I get that, you know, 3-4 tables all ordered with you at the same time. They all came in super hungry and demanding and snapping their fingers at you. But, you know, it's everyone else is going to suffer if you just don't space out those tickets.
Then they'll be even fucking grumpier.
Yeah. And grouping items too. Like you have a table of 10 and there's like 7.
Oh yeah. And just here, somewhere at the bottom.
Yeah. It's just put 7 steaks or 7 chickens or whatever it is. And
one on another ticket because they forgot it anyways.
Yeah. It's just the notion of putting chicken, salad, chicken. Like, I mean, I've been guilty of it too as a manager. I've definitely gotten yelled at by chefs for, I'm like, dude, like I got 80 fires going, like just, I'll reprint it later. Like, you know, I get it.
And all of these things will always happen to some degree. And it's about how we best work through those issues, but doesn't mean you don't want to fucking yell at people.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I think the one thing that that guests don't quite take into consideration is how demanding working in a restaurant is, especially when you're operating at a certain level. You know, even at a certain level, I think if you go into an Applebee's on a Saturday night, those people are feeling the exact same woes that a place like Faith was feeling on a Saturday night. I think that busy is busy.
Probably worse to some degree, just based on some of the customer base.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, you do hope that the more expensive the joint is that you're going into, the more refined the guests may be and more understanding they will be. But you'd be surprised, man. Rude people are rude people, dude. Like, and that's the thing that I'm hoping to get out of the show is that more non-industry people listen to it, so they kind of understand your food's taking long for a legitimate reason, you know? And the legitimate reason, you might be correct, is it got forgotten, right? But it's also, it happens. I mean, when a server has, you know, 60 tables in a night and orders that they're covering towards the end, things can get kind of confusing. Not an excuse.
Melts your brain a little bit.
Right. Sometimes. Not an excuse, but things happen. Yeah. My advice to all customers who've never worked is don't feel afraid to flag somebody down. The problem can't be solved after you leave the restaurant and go on Yelp, right? Our job is to make you happy. So if something's wrong, we're going to fix it and we're going to do everything we can. But if you just sit there, nothing is worse than the customer go, how is everything? Oh, it's great. Thanks. And then go online and say how fucking horrible everything was.
That's great. Oh, thanks. Is always a little like, but is it?
Yeah. It's like, tell me
of that.
You tell me what's wrong and I can fix it for you. I can take things off. I can send you food. I can discount your meal. I can comp your meal. I can make you happy as long as you tell me you're unhappy. But the notion of I'm too embarrassed to say anything and then I'm going to go complain out of the comfort of my basement in the computer. I mean, that's just a shitty person. I'll say it for the record.
That person was probably going to bitch to the internet anyways because
I mean, I've definitely had those people who I've gone back to the kitchen and go, they just refuse to be happy and we should just move on to the next one. Like I've done.
There's also just those people. And it's like, it's comp a good part of their bill and hopefully they never fucking come back.
Yeah. But all right. So anything else for servers? Don't flirt with the line cooks or.
Well, I mean, you can flirt, just, don't date the line cooks. I mean, I don't really care. I've actually never dated or slept with anyone from work somehow.
All right.
Yeah. Always, I did once a restaurant that I was leaving. There was a very attractive hostess but I waited until I had actually left to take her out.
There you go. It's safer that way. It's less drama to come from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean we talk about shitting where you eat a lot on the show, and
don't do it.
Sometimes it has to be done though. Sometimes it's like sometimes that's all you got. You don't have a life outside the restaurant.
Well, I mean, thank God for internet dating.
Well, that's true. I mean, a lot of my younger single days were before internet dating. I think I was signal. I think it was a bachelor for like maybe 6 months, 8 months of Tinder being a thing. So I definitely didn't get the full extent of that.
I think they had sort of. I mean, at least as far as I was actually interested in any of it. I think Tinder had like just started right when I moved to San Francisco. Good chef buddy of mine from up there. I mean, he had called it the shotgun approach, which was just him, just swiping. Like he'd just be, a slow night, like you'd have to stay up in the pass, but he'd just be like at the pass, kind of like calling out tickets, but also just swiping right.
Just until, just
wait till you match. Sword through him afterwards. It's like
at that point, it's shooting fish in the barrel. You're bound to get matched up with somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. Isn't Fish in a Barrel? Isn't that one of those dating sites?
I think it's Plenty of Fish.
I think so.
It should be.
I'm never funny on purpose.
It should be Fish in the Barrel. That's good. It should totally be that.
Especially now that everybody's kind of quarantined.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It gives Barrel a whole nother reason.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. I mean, I have seen overall the quality of, front and back of the house has gotten better throughout the whole time. Everywhere I've worked, just general service quality in this country has gotten better. And it's a heartening thing, which right now, everything is pretty fucked, but like it won't be fucked forever, we hope. But it's things we can actually take a little solace in is that it will come back. People are really getting better. Food culture is getting better. I mean, all this fucking horrific old school misogynistic fucking bullshit is going the way of the fucking dinosaurs. And
yeah, hopefully.
I mean
it's definitely it's moving in that direction. It's not quite gone, but
it's not gone. It's going the way. I mean, and it'll be a while. Like so many issues that do take time.
Mm-hmm. What I would like to see is, I like to see this across the board in a lot of, corners of our society. But what I would like to see is, here's my hope. If anyone's listening, I'd like to start seeing that higher quality affordable meal. I think that too
Definitely.
many great chefs and great culinary experiences are at a price point that is not attainable for some. Like and in the first episode, I talked about how it should be important to go spend $250, $300 on a meal. And some of the response I got back from that is like, yeah, you're kidding me. I would never spend that type of money on it. And I get that, it's not, I can't do it all that often, but I have done it. And it's every time I've done it, it has been worth it. I think I can maybe count 2 times I was bummed out about it, but about the experience I got. But for most times, it's 100% worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
I just would like to start seeing some of that quality and finesse in top tier restaurants trickle down to the more fast casual places, the more like I'm going to spend $30 and still get that same. I mean, you can't always be the same, but as close as you can experience.
Absolutely.
I think that's the one thing missing in our industry is that approach. And I know that some chefs have tried to do it, but
it's that middle ground aspect of it. And I think, I did one project with Michael Hung where that was kind of the idea, and it was successful. I unfortunately I threw my back out, and so by the time 4 months later, by the time I'd actually been able to get back to work, unfortunately the project didn't work out. And then more recently, I was at All Day Baby with Chef Jonathan and Lynn, and they're great people. Really enjoyed working for them. But and that's very much what we were doing over at All Day Baby.
Yeah.
Which I think that one they've still got. So hopefully that doesn't go anywhere. They're just operating on a skeleton crew over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is I think the future of the culinary experience is moving towards ghost kitchens as well, where you're going to have, you're going to see some top chef open up a restaurant with no seats. It's just a kitchen and it's strictly for to go and, delivery. And I think you're going to start seeing that pop up. And when that happens, your labor cost isn't affecting your food costs anymore. People don't understand is that in cities like LA where we're paying minimum wage, there's a reason why your burger's $18, $20. Like it's not necessarily because the quality of the ingredients warrants it, but you're looking at maybe $6 on the plate and in some of those places. But a lot of time the cost for labor gets put onto the guest, and we try our hardest not to gouge anybody and still make things affordable and still make stuff. But then
you have to be able to afford to stay open.
But then we'll do things like, put a service charge on a meal of 3% of your bill, and people will get mad about it. Like it's either you're either going to find a 10% markup across the board on all our items, or we're going to add this 3% to your bill. Are you happy spending, $20 on an old fashioned, or you want to spend $15 on an old fashioned? Or do you want to spend 10? Something has to give eventually, and it's expensive to run these places. So I think ghost kitchens is the way to go. And then hopefully they can kind of, reel in a little bit the upper classness of fine dining and make it a little bit more accessible, because I think everyone should be entitled to that culinary experience without the barrier of a price point. Now, prices are prices, man. You don't want to shell it for Wagyu. You're not going to get Wagyu. I'm sorry. It's just,
some things are always going to cost what they're going to cost, but and I do think it is moving that direction. I think that, slowly, but surely that, people are doing these more casual projects because it's, your overall cost is lower. So it can help support those other restaurants to keep them open where your profit margins are a lot fucking tighter.
Yeah. I mean, I hope this isn't an easy game. And I hope that this ongoing series exposes how stressful, how nerve-wracking the industry can be, especially from the kitchen's point of view. And then from the owner and manager point, I think ironically, I think people who kind of find their way through the middle of all are the people on the floor, the bartender, but they have their own stress. Like it's not an easy job on any side of it. But if I can change one person's perspective of the restaurant industry who's never worked in it and make them have some sympathy for those who do and understand that your food is taking a slightly longer than you want it to be taking for a very good reason, and understand that it's not because we don't like you or singling you out or we've forgotten about you. It's that, something else went wrong with some other table, and that it snowballs in the kitchen very easily. And
like we addressed earlier, like that just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
A thing gets overcooked and it backs up, 4 other tables, and
yep.
Be patient. Like, people in general, everybody's fucking trying.
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen.
And as a manager to other fellow managers, the communication is key. Touch a table and say, sorry, we just have to recook it. It didn't come out up to our levels. People understand that,
Give me 1 second.
All right. Got to turn those lights on. It's getting dark now.
Yeah. I was like, wait a second. Why do I look so dark? Oh, it's because it's kind of dark.
It's kind of dark. That's why I have this light.
I like it. I think actually I just kind of thought of this because, going over the stress, it's a fucking horrifically stressful job. I think pet peeves, I think a big one is people not getting therapy.
Yeah.
And that's something I actually, and I'm not ashamed to talk about this. I have really approached my problems in my career with alcohol and fucking partying and kind of escaping from it. And just yesterday, I finally actually fucking pulled the trigger on something I've been talking about for the last couple of years, which is starting therapy. Because, hey man, if I can help myself get a little bit better, that's only going to mean that my work is going to get better.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely could have benefited from therapy when I was at Faith and Flower, hands down. I'd probably still be there, but I quit for my mental health because it was taking a toll that was really hard on me. Like, I was not in a good mental space at all towards the end of my tenure there.
I definitely, I felt very free getting out of there.
Yep.
Parts of that place can be kind of toxic, and so many restaurants can be. It's that problem is not solely that restaurant. I think you and I just have that experience there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people have had their experience there, but at the same time, I also know a lot of people there, and I never worked at, like, say, Bestia, not to say that they have it there, but who knows? I didn't work there, and some people might be having the same conversation you and I are having from their tenure there. I think working at a high level in this industry is inherently bad for your health, and it can cause you to, or at least your mental health, and it can cause you to go down dark roads.
That winds up being bad for your physical health.
Yeah, sure. So I could commend you for that. It's definitely a step that I think more people should definitely take in this industry.
Basically everybody needs fucking therapy, and it's about, reaching out and finding those resources, which they're out there, they're all over the place. So
yeah,
it's not an easy step to take. I can definitely admit that to myself, but I'm pretty happy that,
I'll put it this way. Even if you don't think you need therapy or you don't believe in therapy, getting a different person's perspective who isn't family and friends or loved ones is extremely beneficial. There's a reason why bartenders are therapists.
Yep.
Because you just need to vent and talk and air out grievances to a stranger who can give you their unbiased point of view on it. Now, couple that with the knowledge on how to navigate those corners of it. Professional and not, I know
a lot of bartenders who are pretty good at it, but
they're not. They
put on your bartender.
Yeah, it's not their job to burden all your problem.
A little bit here and there sometimes, but
it's part of the occupation, and it's kind of the thing we all love. Like, when I was a bartender, I got a kick out of helping people out. Like, it's, you kind of know that's part of it, but at the same time too, it can get heavy carrying somebody's grief and trauma
many people.
Yeah.
Like the point,
I mean, I've helped friends through breakups, bartending, and it's just like, it's tough because if you are like me and it's hard to leave stuff at the door when you go home, it can weigh you down, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But good for you, man. I mean, I encourage anyone to go do it. It's an outside perspective to help you put together the pieces of the puzzle that is your mind. It can only be beneficial and not harmful in any way. Well, good for you.
As you know, I guess that is a good thing. One of the few good things that, you know, this whole coronavirus thing has done is it's given a lot of chefs an actual break.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
No, it's funny.
A reduced workload. Like, there's still, of course, all the stresses that come with that, but
yeah, especially if your place is still open and trying to figure out what your identity is right now. Like, I know it's probably stressful, but those first couple of weeks that most places closed down because they had to, it was like a vacation that some people haven't had in 20 years. I know friends of mine who've been hustling for a very long time, and it was their first time they actually stopped. And that is extremely helpful. And I wish that it just kind of, we realize moving forward as a society that, you know, paid vacations are important. Time off from a restaurant, no matter what position you hold, is very important. I don't care if you're the head chef or a GM, like, people need to step away from it.
Everyone needs a damn vacation.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who really relish those 2 days, but then you have the added stress of, how do I save the business? How do we pivot? All that stuff. Yeah. So you kind of back into it a little bit, but yeah, man, that break was definitely helpful for me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't know. I'm optimistic. The more and more I'm talking to people, the more and more I'm getting optimistic about the state of affairs we're in. It is still tough. I'm still out of work. You're still out of work. Many of our friends are still very much out of work. But, you know, innovation comes out of necessity. And I think that's kind of the part that I'm most optimistic about and looking forward to, is seeing where we go from here, because you're right. I think we were at like a pinnacle before all this as an industry. Like, service was, you know, cities you never think about food became food cities, you know, as far as adopting this level of service that, you know, the bigger cities were more accustomed to. So, you know, it's a shame that it did happen, but hopefully, you know, only good things come from it, man. I
mean, eventually they will. It's just going to be a weird fucking road getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But like you said, you know, I'm very optimistic. I'm very hopeful that, you know, like you said, people will take this time and just find whatever that necessity is and really run with it and just keep up the momentum as best we can, given all the circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, what's next for you though? Like, you have the pop-up going, and, you know, is you hoping to get back to the restaurant, or, you know, maybe looking, I don't know.
I had a tasting a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. You know, the world is moving slow, so just waiting to hear what's up with that project, and
yeah,
got pretty high hopes. They loved everything, so that's always a good feeling.
It's always a good feeling. Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, I might be focusing on some other more, you know, private dinner based stuff for a while with another good friend of mine who's been kind of pushing me to do the private dinner thing for a couple years.
Yeah. I'm telling you, dude, it's one of the better experiences I have are private dinners. Like, you know, the pop-up feel, like taking over a spot, and you know, everyone's sharing in this unique, you know, once in a lifetime experience, in quotes. And, you know, I wish more chefs in LA did those things. Like, just, you know, having, you know, it's one thing, like I know a lot of chefs who will do private dinners for like a private party.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. What I'm talking about is, you know, sell tickets to a dinner to the public and allow people this, you know, amazing culinary experience.
Special things.
Yeah. I love those.
Always fun. I think that's cool too. I mean, more people have been doing that in LA.
Yeah. I hope that becomes a thing.
It gives us the opportunity to just kind of just make some shit.
Yeah.
Here you go. Came up with this for this. It's delicious. You're gonna fucking love it.
Right. And then also it's just you have a captive audience. You don't have a tourist coming in who doesn't know what they're getting into, and they just want, they want French fries in a fine dining restaurant that doesn't sell French fries. So it's you have a captive audience, which I think is, what every chef wants is to have the right people in front of them to cook for.
People who want to be there, who are there to appreciate the food.
Yeah. I love them, man. You keep me posted. I'll be there with bells on.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. So I guess, all right. So the last thing I've been asking, I didn't ask my last guest this because they are bar people. You're a restaurant person. My first guest was a restaurant person. So I figure I'm going to just dial this down to all my restaurant people to end the show with their best corner.
Corner behind.
There you go. All right, Chef. Thank you very much.
The hot corner.
Yeah, hot
behind, hot corner.
Yep, that's perfect. Or knife, sharp.
Or always you can throw in sharp.
You say shark?
Shark in there. What? You just say shark? No.
The hot behind is classic.
Or I'll throw this one in there too. One of my absolute favorites. Restaurant I worked at. You didn't say on your left. You just said Beyonce. But everyone in the fucking restaurant knew what it meant. So it just worked. And that's behind cool. You, Beyonce.
That's good. I was just like yelling down the line when I went down the pass.
Oh yeah.
That was always my favorite.
Down the line.
Well, all right, Chef Gabe. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
We finally were able to get a full one in. Gabe was my test of all this. He was the first person I talked to when I was testing this all out. And then
it took us what? A whole other month.
It took us a month to finally get back in. Yeah. But we did it. We're at the end now.
Remember, teamwork makes the dream work.
I hate that saying. I don't know why. It just bothers me.
I do too, and yet I kind of like saying it. I think it's because lots of people hate it.
It's because it's true. True things are.
It's fucking true.
Yep, that's absolutely true. So, real quick, I'll give you a quick little plug here. Where can people find you online? I'll link it below where they can follow you and with your ramen, delivery service.
Yeah, so right now it's Gabriel Geiger, as in eyeball, and should hopefully be setting up another one for more of the specific individual kitchen stuff I'm doing. So
perfect.
So in the works.
So guys, go follow Gabe if you want some ramen and you're in the LA area. I myself have not had it yet because you've sold out. Like I mean, I've had your cooking several times. I've been to your house and everything. But you sell out like crazy, so I haven't had a chance to partake in it. But hopefully this time around, I'll do it.
I should got to just double check a couple things, but I should hopefully be doing it this Sunday and then maybe the next couple Sundays.
All right. Well, probably the next couple Sundays will when people are here because this is I got another episode before this one comes up.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. The next couple Sundays, so it should happen.
Awesome. Well. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Corner Memoirs of the Service Industry. My name is Eric, and thank you once again to Chef Gabe for being my guest this afternoon. If you like it on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. We're also available on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher. So if you're listening to one of those, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, whatever you got to do. Help me spread the word on the show. And then we will have more listeners and reach a bigger audience, and it will be great. But until then, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye.